Good evening. This is Weatherflow meteorologist Shay Gibson. It is Wednesday, August the 19th, about 9:30 p.m. We're going to be talking about the tropics tonight, specifically about Invest 97L, 98L, and now a new tropical wave that has come off the coast of Africa. So let's go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to put myself down here to the corner. Here's what we have going with the NHC, the latest information. We have Invest 97L that is entered into the Central Caribbean Sea as of right now. It is moving towards the west-northwest, towards the Yucatan Peninsula. The formation chance through 48 hours, 70%, through 5 days, 80%. We think that the formation of this storm is likely going to occur a little bit further over by the Yucatan Peninsula, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. 98L behind this with a high 90% chance of the next 48 hours and 90% chance the next 5 days. It looks like it's trying to get its act together. It is going to be encountering some upper shear here in the very near future, and whether or not it makes it past that or not has yet to be determined. We'll talk about that in just a moment. The next wave coming off of Africa is at 40% chance over the next 5 days. I know I'm blocking it down here, so we'll put it right where you can see the lettering. And so only a low 10% chance next 48 hours and 40% next 5 days. This one may end up being a fish storm in the end from some guidance that we're seeing right now, but still a little bit too early to be determined. So let's go ahead and take a look at the peak season now. This is a reminder that we are entering the active portion of the hurricane season. In fact, the peak day historically, but not exactly, is at or around September the 10th. So we're right about here. And so we still have this upward climb going into the first week or two of September before things start to wind down a little bit. But even as we go into October, we still get some strong storms during this time. It's still active. Even if it's on the way down, it's still an active portion. We sometimes get a bump towards the middle of October before starting to head downwards pretty quickly into November as the sea surface temperatures cool during that time. So just a reminder to always have your hurricane kits ready, your hurricane plans, evacuation plans, and now we have to deal with COVID, so make sure you have a safety plan for that as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on the satellite imagery. Let me back this down. Oh, I got to blow it back up again. So yeah, I had to increase the resolution on the last frame for the last thing that we had up on the screen. But here we got three systems. We have Invest 97L here in the Central Caribbean. We have Invest 98L spinning out here just to the east, or the east of the Leeward Islands, and then we have our next tropical wave. If we look at the visible satellite right now, we are shifting from daytime into nighttime, so you'll see a little jostle there, and that's part of the adjustment of going from visible, high definition visible satellite into the infrared, shortwave infrared imagery, which still gives us some cloud cover and some more of the black and white kind of features for these systems. So here's Invest 97L, 98L, and this will be 99L in time. Let's go ahead and take a look at 97L up a little bit closer, and we can see here the shift from daytime to nighttime. So you see that little jostle there. But this system has been fighting off a lot of dry air to its north and to its northwest, and this has really been plaguing the system because the dry air entrainment continues to happen down from the north in and around it. Now from the southeast, we see moisture lifting from the monsoonal trough over Nicaragua and these areas of South America up into the system. So it's holding a core of moisture, and it's trying to get a spin to it, but it just doesn't have that surface circulation yet. It looks like here in the last frames we're seeing a little bit of vorticity right about here, and so we'll wait to see what happens, but it looks like it's attempted that before, and as it heads off to the west-northwest. Now in time, we do think that as it nears the Yucatan Peninsula, that it has a better chance to actually gain more momentum and more vorticity. But from there, it has yet to be determined which way this system is going to go, whether it heads west-northwest across the Yucatan to the Bay of Campeche, or if it heads up to the north into the Gulf of Mexico. So we'll be watching that very closely. We do think that this system has a better chance here, right off the coast of Yucatan. It may slow down and maybe stall just a little bit in this area before heading off to the west-northwest, where it could get ripped apart a little bit going over this mountainous zone of the Yucatan and have a tough time by the time it gets over here. But we are looking at an upper trough that's digging down across into the Gulf of Mexico right now, and this may lift the storm a little bit to the north and may impart a little bit of upper shear on it as well, so it may keep it on the weaker side. Models are having a really tough time getting a bead on this system as of right now, and without a central area of low pressure or a TD or a name, it really makes the difficult modeling hard on initialization on what is going to occur, because there's no surface circulation and it's having a tough time maybe getting some of the atmospheric parameters to get the solution for it. 98L if we take a look at this one pretty close up, we see a little bit more spin to it. And Tropical Tidbits this is Levi Cowan's site. It's a great site, but I tell you, there's probably so many people on it right now that there's a little bit of lag. It's such a great site to go to. But here again, we're starting to see a little bit more organization at the surface. The ASCAT readings for the advanced scatterometer, we haven't been able to get that parameter yet because the ribbons didn't cover this area. So maybe later tonight we might get some readings on this one. But also we have a little bit of dry air feeding in from this direction. It looks like it's really starting to get its core of convection off to the northwest. This may end up being the new center of the storm as it leaves the monsoonal trough to the south. So what we typically would see is this flow that kind of comes up through the equator and up and around, and it gives the storm sort of a spin along the monsoonal trough area. So we're looking for an area of centralized surface low pressure to develop out of this, and once that happens, I believe it will go ahead and get the tropical depression upgrade, if not tropical storm upgrade. So we're looking at that in the next couple of days. Now we do have, if we look at some of the convective imagery, so this is the long wave infrared, and what we're seeing here is we're seeing that big blob of convection off to the northwest of the system. This could end up being the new, if it will hurry up and just lock in. There we go. I think it'll happen now. But either way, you can see the convection off to the northwest, and that's what we're kind of looking at right now to see if the little area of vorticity was just south of this blob a little while ago, and now it looks like the majority of it may be a little bit further north of the system. We'll wait and see. It may hold its spin right here, but this whole area was a really elongated trough area just as of yesterday. Now it's a little bit more centralized. We're watching this very closely. As far as upper shear, I'll go ahead and zoom in on this. Now, the way to read this map is anything in red is not favorable for development, and that simply means that the winds aloft are stronger and it's imposing upper shear on a system. Or if the system's heading into the red area, that means that the upper shear is going to increase. And what that does is it rips the tops off of the clouds and limits its vertical stacking of thunderstorms. That's what tropical systems feed off of, is the ocean, the heat elements. It builds off of the thunderstorms. The thunderstorms basically wrap around a core. And so when the thunderstorms are not allowed to build as high as they need to, and the tops are consistently or systematically ripped off, then the system lags in trying to develop. Like the storms end up being shallower than they need to be for rapid development or any kind of favorable development for a stronger system, and they end up being weaker storms altogether. So Invest 98L is heading, see it right here, it's heading towards this area of upper shear. This is more like an upper trough right here. That's the winds are kind of coming in counterclockwise at a higher level, and so this shear is going to be one big hurdle for the system to go through. And the models are really kind of ripping this storm apart before it even gets to the leewards. However, a smaller compact system that develops can weather this storm through that shear sometimes, and we may end up having a tropical storm by this point, unless that upper shear really does number on it. The sea surface temperatures and the warm waters are plenty of fuel to help with that storming. If it gets convection concentrated around a core, it may have a nice little moisture shield to try to fight off some of the drier area in the upper shear that's ahead. Once beyond this point, though, this upper shear is expected to relax, and it's really kind of an open ball game right here as far as the Greater Antilles and all the way up to the Bahamas as to whether or not, with that upper shear relaxing, if the storm is going to develop, it's more likely that's going to occur in that area if it makes it through as a tropical storm. Let's take a look at the GFS model, and we'll take a look at 97L right now, still showing as an open wave right here in the Central Caribbean, and we'll run this model forward. What we see is an open trough all the way over towards the Yucatan, and we start to see a little bit of convergence of moisture over in this area, and in time the gradient picks up. We see the winds increasing along its eastern side. You can see the wind barbs here reading 20 to 30 knots along the eastern side, converging into the system that's trying to spin in this area, and it holds it there for a little bit before passing through to the west-northwest into the Bay of Campeche. All of this energy eventually is going to pass over into the Bay of Campeche or the Gulf. Now, whether or not it makes it or develops into a system has yet to be told. It doesn't look very favorable at this point. However, the moisture shield that it could gain could give it some oomph and actually give it a little bit of juice to be able to develop a little bit more. So it pretty much that pretty much ends there. Now we're looking at 98L, and this is the GFS model as well. We'll go ahead and take a look at 98L at 30 hours coming towards the Leeward Islands, And we see that it still is just an open trough. We don't see a lot of closed circulation. Looks like there's maybe a little bit of area closed circulation here. But as it goes over towards the northern leewards and the northeastern Caribbean islands, we see that it remains an open wave on the GFS. And this is some of that upper shear that's going on at the same time. And so we see that it holds through there. Now, if this system does develop into a tropical storm and it ends up going right over the Caribbean islands, there's mountainous zones as you go through Puerto Rico and into Dominican Republic and Cuba that could help basically tear the storm apart. But if it stays just to the north and heads to the Bahamas, this may have a chance to develop into a tropical storm at this point. And possibly, we can't even rule out a hurricane at this point because the waters are deep and warm, very rich for fueling. The upper shear is expected to relax, and the models are just having a hard time grasping onto that for right now. But we'll have to see what happens. Looks like this energy all heads towards southern Florida by early next week. We're looking at Monday, Tuesday. We could be looking at the other system trying to do something in the Gulf as well, 97L, and all of this sort of just creating a large swath of rain and storms and possibly tropical cyclone activity towards southern Florida and the Gulf. Now, we're not ruling out anything off the southeast coast either because the track is still not clear. There's still a lot of uncertainty. Here's the Euro model. We'll track 97 and 98L at the same time. Here's 97 by Friday morning. Here's 98L heading towards the northern leeward islands. When we see that 97L is having a tough time over here, looks like the Euro is pretty much dumping it right over here to the west-northwest towards the north of the Bay of Campeche, just like the GFS. 98L, it's also keeping it an open wave. It's a weaker system. And both of these models are in agreement as of the 6 o'clock p.m. GFS and the Euro model from 12 o'clock today that they're not really developing the storm. That doesn't mean it won't happen for either one of these. And 98L has a little bit better of a chance because it looks like it's got more rotation overall. The next name on the list is going to be Laura, so we'll wait to see what happens. Here is the Euro ensembles. Now keep in mind the Euro ensembles, there's 52 members. As long as all the members are on board with centralized low pressure or an area of low pressure, then all of them will start out as a plot with 52 members. And so we go forward and we see that the tracks are pretty tight as we go forward. There's so many members you would expect a lot of splitting at this point, but they really kind of stay pretty tight except for 97L starts to split. Some models take it further north along that upper trough, which gets pulled up in the United States. And some models keep it over here towards the Bay of Campeche. Here's 98L. Coming right across, just grazing the northern leewards and across the greater Antilles and over towards Cuba. And we go a little bit forward. Here comes that next tropical wave off of Africa, and we'll watch to see what happens there. But we see the wide split in the ensemble runs for the Euro for 97L, and more kind of trending to the northwest and to the north, and 98 still hanging down to the south, right towards Cuba and southern Florida. So we have a wide array of possibilities for 97L here at this point, and a more concentrated batch or more focused path for 98L, taking the trend mostly towards southern Florida. And we'll wait to see if that happens at this point at days 5. As we get into Tuesday, days 5 and 6, we start to see where things really split and things can go anywhere. So I'd say Monday, Tuesday, we just don't know yet. It's just too far out. I'd say we probably know a lot better what's going to happen by the time we get to Friday and Saturday. We'll have a pretty good idea of maybe what will happen. And so the next invest that's coming out looks like it may be a fish storm, as you can see here. A lot of those lows keep it out to sea. So nothing of great concern there. We do look at tropical cyclone heat potential. And so as you get into the lighter colors from the purple all the way up to the oranges and reds, usually about 90 TCHP is what we look for values that are more favorable for development of tropical systems. And we can see that a lot of these areas in the Caribbean all the way over, especially in the Western Caribbean, where the TCHP is high. That doesn't always mean things are going to develop. All the atmospheric conditions have to be conducive for development for that to happen. Sea surface temperature is very warm all the way around. Once again, this is a NASA Sport SST map showing just how warm they are. We haven't had a lot of systems come through and stir this water up. And so we hope that we get more maybe rainfall systems that would cool these waters off, but we don't necessarily want tropical cyclones to be doing that. So either way, that's going to be a wrap for this discussion. And go back to this map. Again, 97L with an 80% chance next 5 days, 70, 48 hours. Disturbance number 2, which is 98L with a 90% for 48 hours and 5 days. And this wave coming off Africa with a 40% chance next 5 days. This one may not be anything to be worried about. But the main thing is understanding that this is the active portion of the year, and be ready for anything to happen. We're watching these very closely, and until next time, everyone stay safe. Have your plans ready. Thank you.